go wild. Any second, here it comes. You can hear him winding up. Shelley Taylor Smith, the 29-year-old school teacher from Perth, has done it. She's won gold for Australia. This is just fantastic stuff. The crowd is going absolutely wild. Here she comes. She's got 3 strokes. 2 strokes. Here she comes. Listen to this crowd go up now. Congratulations, Shelley Taylor Smith.
Well, hey everybody, normally when I introduce somebody I just do it off the top of my head or from memory, but this person here, Shelley Taylor Smith, has so many achievements to her name that I'm going to have to read some of them out. She is, for the record, a 7-time world marathon swimming champion. She held 15 world swimming records, 10 of which she still holds today. She's a 5 times winner of the Manhattan Island Swim. For a while she was ranked the #1 marathon swimming champion. I could go on. This list goes on quite a bit further than that. She broke her swimming record. In fact, you ended up in the Guinness Book of Records for this one. You swam from Sydney to Wollongong, and the legendary Des Renford swam that race in, I think, about 25 hours, and you did it in 12 something or other, which is just mind-boggling. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But so many achievements. She's a best-selling author, she's a coach, she's a motivational speaker, and she's known around the traps as Queen Shelley. I think she's the most dominant international sports person throughout the 90s, at least until 1995, 96, 97. Such was her dominance in her field of sport, men and women, which is really extraordinary. Shelley, welcome. Thank you so much for coming into the studio. Tell us, were you always into marathon swimming? Did it start for you doing 50 metres at the local pool, or was it just long distance from the get-go?
Well, it started me learning to swim with seaweed and jellyfish in the ocean, and that's where I did vacation swimming lessons, as they do in Western Australia, and went down to the beach, went with my sister, and I went because my sister was an asthmatic, so I chose to do the big sister thing and go along to keep her company. She had to swim, I chose to. She had all the talent, I had none. And you know how I know? Because they told me. And Dave, I love to tell you. So that's where it all started.
Yeah, wow. And when did it kind of click, hey, I might be a decent swimmer?
Oh, I used to go bounding through the gates at the pool, and with this big smile and dragging one leg after me with my scoliosis and this big smile, and my coach would go, oh no, here she comes. Oh no, she's smiling. What am I going to do with her? And it was just what I've now created is the STS winning formula. It was just show up, do it, repeat. And I just kept showing up. I kept doing whatever was asked, and then I kept repeating. And that's how I got better.
Mm-hmm. How does scoliosis affect a young body?
Well, in those days it wasn't, the surgeries. There were surgeries, but it was, which my doctor did want. He wanted to put a steel rod in my spine. And at the very young age of, I think it was 11 or 12, I can't remember the exact, it was about 11, and I was just going into high school, and they decided they wanted to put the rod in, and I said, no, I'll never be able to swim again. So I begged my parents, I said, I'll do whatever it takes, I promise, And so we went with a steel brace, and my mum or dad would just pull me in, strap me in, put the feet in the middle of my back and strap me into this, like a girdle, but it was steel rod and harness, and I had cotton wool all around it, and I've still got a few scars on my body where it's rubbed raw. And I had the straightest back at school, and the best thing was that the only time I could take it off was when I slept and went swimming or had a shower. So I was very happy to get in the pool.
So you went to school in this contraption?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
And when I think back those days, there weren't backpacks. So, it was good that it was trying to, I had this big school bag with all the books, and in those days you walked to school, and it was about 5K. Mum would pick us up in the afternoon, but, those books and everything wasn't the best thing. But the scoliosis was just something I was born with. And swimming actually kept me out of a wheelchair.
Right. Okay. And at some point, you became successful as a teenager, and then you got the attention of a college in the States. I think you got a scholarship. You ended up over there.
Yeah, I won my first gold medal at 12. No, 11. 11 in the 12 years under 200 backstroke. By 13, I was winning more. By 14, I was #1 in Australia for my age group in the 200 backstroke. Missed the Olympic. And I got third at the Olympic trials for Montreal in 76, and took the first 2. Yeah. So I thought my whole life was over. And so my swimming was my outlet for a lot of things after my dad died when I was very young at 15. So I wasn't even in marathon swimming there. But then in hindsight, when I look back on my career now and what I know, I was, we swam in the river as a kid as well. So we used to do all these swim throughs, which is now, this global phenomenon in open water swimming, the largest recreational sport in the world. And so, everybody's out getting wet in the open water and lakes and dams and rivers and lochs and everything around the world, and the occasional beach. And, and that's where I started as a kid as well. And I was coming out first overall in handicap races at 12 years of age. So who knows, that's maybe where I got the sniff of open water swimming back then.
Yeah, and you didn't need to do tumble turns with the open water swimming and put extra tension on your scoliosis.
No, and with my shoulders and the way I'm built, I've got wide shoulders, wide hips. I just had a really good body, the framework in open water, and not much kick. So just all the energy and the focus was on the upper body, using it for my energy systems, and didn't kick much. And because of my back, I didn't have much strength in my lower body. So it all worked in my favour.
Well, you certainly found your sweet spot. Tell us about the first victory in the US.
Oh, and well, my first victory in a marathon swim, I had broken a world record in October 83, and we used to go out for pre-season training. So the collegiate college system in America is very strict on pre-season, not overtraining athletes. So my coach at the time, and I didn't know this, he was, coaching for the #1 male in the world, Paul Asmuth. And, we'd go out to the lake, and he says, okay, we're going to go out to the lake and do some pre-season training. And all the pool swimmers hated it. There was no black line. I loved it. It was like, the Swan River from Perth. And I just came back for all the boys, and they thought I cheated. Then my coach said, you want to have a race? Okay, so let's have a bet. And I set my first world record the week before Australia won the America's World Cup in 1983. And then I was sent out to, that's right, later that summer, the following year, I was sent to California, Seal Beach. And I knew that when you swim marathons, because it was the world record I'd set was for 4 miles, 6.4K, American record. And then and I was going into my first 16-mile, 25 rough waters swim in Seal Beach, California. And I thought, right, this is a long distance. The water might get cold. I'll find some wool fat. Is that grease, that sheep comes from sheepskin. And from the sheep's wool. And so I went out looking for it, and I went to a hardware store, and I couldn't find any, but I found car axle grease, and it had lanolin base in it. So I ended up wearing white car axle grease, and you can see me, I glow. Everybody else is, and in the photo at the start, the sun hasn't come up and I'm just white all over. So yeah, it was a very interesting swim. Got stuck in a rip. We swam from Seal to Huntington Beach. Professional surfing race was going on at the time, and turned around and came back. Got stuck in a rip. Didn't move. Everybody got out, bar 3 people, myself and 2 guys, and came across the line and beat all the blokes. And they went off to hospital with hypothermia, and I was on the dais by myself. That was my introduction to marathon swimming.
I don't think there's been a time in my life where I could have swum across the Sydney Harbour, let alone out of the harbour and down the coast for 90 kilometres. Is that how far it is? What are the dangers? What was the dangers of that swim, and what are the dangers of open water swimming in general?
Well, the first danger was I didn't even get out of the head, so it was a perfect night. I was in a cage for a reason, and when this goal came up, I had just had a benign breast tumour, and Des Remford just basically said one day, how's your tit going? And quote unquote, and I went, thanks for asking, it's fine, Des, and he said, right, let's get you breaking my record, and I want you to do exactly what I did. So it was, 21 years later, but hey, we did it exactly how he did. And swimming in a cage is not easy. You're in a cage for a reason. And this is, 1995, 96. And so this is pre-GPS, or, the GPS is, the technology we have today. Much easier than when he had, a lot easier than when he had it 21 years before. But out there, the cage is just, a nightmare. The cold, I was up the front of the cage, so I was swimming at my pace, not being dragged, which basically would be cheating. at the back of the cage.
Yeah, right.
So I had basically a bucket of, 12 degrees Celsius water dumping on my head every 5 seconds, which it was like, the ice cold freeze when you eat something really cold and you get that brain teeth freeze, and that's what it was like. And that was the second time when we went out, and we were flying, but it's a really hard thing when it's not your normal swim, so it's very hard to prepare for.
Right.
So that's when the mindset is more than the physical on the day.
Mm-hmm. Have there been times where you just couldn't go on? Like, has there been a time where you've had to be dragged out of the water because of some event that's stopped you swimming?
Yeah. There's nothing worse than a DNF on your record, did not finish, which, my coach saved my life. I was representing Australia. I was winning by 500 metres in a swim in Roberval, Quebec, in Lake St. John, up in Canada. And, I woke up in hospital. I was winning by 500 metres. I passed out unconscious. He basically saved my life, but I felt like pretty much a failure. Yeah. Woke up in hospital, and Anita Sood from India was next to me. She goes, "Oh, thank God you're human after all." Not feeling very human, and I wasn't feeling very much like, I'd been saved. I felt a lot more like I was a failure for my country. The other swim, same gentleman, my coach in here from New South Wales, Graham Carroll, the grubster, he saved my life literally when we were going from Sydney to Wollongong. He could have, I wanted to get out. That's basically where I was in control with what I thought I was. And he said, nah. To me, it was like he saved my life in the sense that I don't think I could have lived with myself if I had got out. Yeah. I did stamp my feet like a little kid spitting the dummy and in my cage. I want to get out, I've got to get out. I want a hot chocolate, I want a hot shower, like normal things,
It's not the kind of thing you want to go back and do again.
No. And I've been going, I think about 9 hours, 8 hours. And, I've been looking at this national forest, national park all the way down the coast to Wollongong, and I was just like, I'd had enough, and he said, no. So he really did save my life in that sense, because I don't think it would have been, I would have beaten myself up for a lot of years if I chose to get out.
Tell me about helping other people achieve their goals. Can anyone actually do anything? Let's start with that, because I do hear that sometimes you hear people say, you can do anything, just set your mind to it. Is that true, or?
Oh, look, I think everything's got, any goal or any achievement or whatever you want to do, whether you want to climb Mount Everest or swim in the English Channel. I think, you've got to be realistic. There are certain prerequisites. You've got to overcome a lot of fear. For some people, you've got to have belief. I think you've got to have a bit of passion in that. When it hurts, you've got to be prepared to put up with the pain and persevere. When it's hitting the fan in anything in life, I think you've got to be able to soldier on. As my dad would say, get up, get over it, and get on with it, and being realistic, but having that support team around you too, and those people that keep you grounded and keep you accountable, I think is really, really important. So I think anything is achievable if all of those parameters are in place.
Yes.
And everything is realistic with your family and congruent with them. That, I think anything's achievable if it's congruent, so that you've got support of the right people. You're not just doing it for your own ego, is what I mean.
I thought it was really cool. I don't know if you recall this, but I don't know if it was your first Manhattan Island swim, but early on, and you beat everybody and you got out of the pool and you were just overcome with emotion because you didn't expect yourself to win that event. How's that? I mean, you can prepare for something where you've given yourself a reasonable chance, but then to participate in an event where surprisingly you win it.
Yeah, that was my last swim for Australia in July 14, 1998. It was actually 10 years to the day that I won my first world title in Lake Le Mans or Geneva in France. So the irony about that, well, not the irony, not the funny thing about it, is that I'd come back from having chronic fatigue where, the doctor gave me 6 months to live, and I wasn't dying of chronic fatigue. I was just dying of flogging myself. And so I came back and it was quite funny because I used to go to Manly Pool, and my girlfriend, Neril Simpson, was there, and she'd say, my coach would think I needed to do 10K, and I'd go, no, 6 will do. And she'd just laugh at me, and she goes, well, you know your body better than anybody else. And my coach had, all good intentions, but I just thought, look, if I'm gonna give Manhattan a go, and my goal was to get around the island.
Yep.
I thought I was a winner, and then I won the women's title, and I thought, wow, that's even more special. But then when I'm coming down the Hudson, and I was saying to my coach, what's that up ahead? And I thought it was 2 fishing boats. He goes, well, they're the 2 blokes. And I said, why didn't you tell me? He said, well, you were very happy just to have a fun day, and you were happy wherever you finished. So this old Shelley, the competitive one, just came to the forefront. So when I came out and I said, this is as good as it gets, I was really shocked that I won, my 5th time first place overall. That was just totally unexpected, and I was very emotional, and it just really, it wasn't so much how good I was, it just showed me, it proved to me about all the things I've said about goals, is about that team support. And really, when everybody else is backing you and holding you accountable, you never know what's going to happen, and that was a lovely surprise. I was coming down the Hudson, and it was very deja vu having these races and tussles with blokes coming down the Hudson. Again, it was lovely.
So in a nutshell, what is this champion mindset, and how can we achieve it?
Oh, wow. It's not my actual methodology. When I was going for gold in 1991, and it was the first ever world championship that it was in my hometown. I was number 1 in the world unofficially for 3 years. And all of a sudden, the black sheep in the family, and the Fina family, marathon swimming, open water swimming, long distance swimming, it's called everything now. The 25-kilometre event's part of the world championships. And I sat down with my sports psychologist, and he said, the most important 6 inches of your body is the distance between your ears. And, and that's where he termed the champion mindset, Steve Cohen. And everybody started calling me a champion. Hey, champ, how champ? And I just thought, well, hang on a minute. What is it about this champion mindset? Because we've all got the same capacity in that 6 inches, but how you then program it, or how you have been programmed as a young child, or been affected by life's experiences, events, thoughts, feelings, traumas, good, bad, neutral, all of that brings us to where we are today. So that mindset is what's going to determine, how you then achieve in life, or go forward in life, however you want to go, wherever you want to go. And so that champion mindset can be, being the best mum that you can be. So I think we've all failed. It's just sticking to it that enables you to succeed, and that's that focus and determination, guts, willpower. But it's the mind, and it's really what you focus on, what attention you put onto it. And that will enable you to stay, whether it's positive, determined, and persevere when it hits the fan.
And it does hit the fan. For you had scoliosis as a kid. Your father died when you were 15. You had chronic fatigue and nearly burnt out completely. You've had some more recent challenges.
I had a divorce.
Yes.
I just think I've had a life, people, when people sit there and go, my God, you've had a really hard time, I think I've had a life. I think that the resilience is really the key factor nowadays that enables us to keep going and think.
How do you draw on that resilience now in 2021?
It's been tough it's been tough with COVID. It's been tough, with a lot of people, not getting to say goodbye to people when they've lost them, over through a window, or over an iPad, not being there in person to hold someone's hand and say your final goodbyes, and things like that. Not being able to go to funerals, not being able to bury your loved ones. So I think what I always do is realise I'm not alone. There's people off worse than me. But I've learnt also, my sister reminded me, she said, Shelley, even though you're feeling this way, acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge what you're feeling. I used to think that, don't wallow in your self-pity, get up. but I wasn't giving myself the respect. And I think that's why I ended up with the chronic fatigue and why I became so ill, is I wasn't respecting myself to say, hang on a minute, you are struggling. You're not Wonder Woman. You need to put your hand up for help, you know. And so that resilience is now being honest, being transparent, being vulnerable. I think being vulnerable is one of our greatest strengths now, when everybody used to think it was weak. Whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. So yeah, putting my hand up for help, and in recent times is being a refreshing blessing that I didn't realise the support I had. I used to always think I had to do it myself, being independent, doing things that no other woman had done before. And it's not saying I was going solo, it's just saying that I could ask for help and I could be vulnerable. And I think that's a resilient character, because people are, you know, and in the world we live in with social media, you know, it always looks like the perfect life and everybody's happy in that, and that's total load of crap. You know, and I feel really sad for our youth of today, is that that's what they're basing, you know, their winning formula on, or that's what they're basing their reality on, and that's not the real world. So that's the scary thing. So even in my world, you know, I had to be realistic and show part of me when I suffered with depression recently. And, you know, I had to stop thinking I was swimming for Australia and this, you know, this world champion. I had to say, hang on a minute, you know, you're a real person, and real people have pains, and allow yourself to have that pain, and then acknowledging it and being true to yourself. And in that moment, I realized that I was being vulnerable and I could ask for help. And instead of thinking I could do it all on my own.
Yeah, because the last 12 months has been particularly hard for you, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's just when I thought, you know, I was coming out of, I was seeing light at the end of the tunnel, and I have seen light at the end of the tunnel with the depression. A very traumatic event, family tragedy, that I lost my brother and my sister-in-law in very tragic circumstances, which I can't go into for legal reasons because the trial hasn't come up. So yeah, it's been very difficult. But in that moment, I started smiling, and it took a while. You know, I went to not having any reason to live, and it wasn't like it's not like I wanted to kill myself. It was just like, I don't know why I'm here. You know, and when you have that grief, and I've never felt grief like it before, and someone said to me, there's people that want to help you, and it makes me cry, because not because I'm sad, but because I'm grateful. I'm really, these are joyful tears that I never realised these people wanted to help me. I never thought that the people that did help, you know what I mean? It's not so much you doubt people, it was an overwhelming feeling of joy and acceptance. It was, I never thought I'd have to, this moment in my life and this tragedy, it's quite funny. I was like, where's the wheels? You know, where's the wheels? Oh, okay. And then one day I'm just sitting at home. We couldn't find the wheels for my brother and my sister-in-law. I mean, and it's a funny thing when you think about it. Can't find the wheels. Who's the executor? You know, I'm sitting there. I'm going, perpetual trustees. I've done a speaking engagement for them. Hang on a minute. I've coached the executive director. You pick the phone up. Hey, I need your help. You know, and then, you know, I've coached lawyers, you know, and my dad was a policeman, and the police department haven't forgotten who I, you know, not so much who I am, but, you know, what my dad did. And so you all of a sudden you have these resources that you have helped others, and, you know, little old me, swim coach, you know, but here these people with that, you know, I could ring up and say, hey, look, I don't know what to expect next, and Google's not giving me any answers. You can't Google this. So it's been a true blessing to realise the outpouring of love and support.
And sometimes when we're so much in it, there's something in our heads that doesn't allow us to put up our hand. It becomes a bit of a catch-22.
I think that was what I've learned. Here I'm approaching 60 later in the year, and you know, there's so many facets to what I've achieved, and different things I've worked in. You know, whether I've been a swimmer or an official or a referee or, you know, a swim coach. You know, and I realised that in getting to those points has been because of the people around me. It wasn't because of just what I, my skill set. It was other people, tapped me on the shoulder when I got into open water saying, hey, you've got potential to be a world marathon champion. When I moved back to Perth, during the GFC in 2008, what was I thinking? And someone said, hey, Shell, would you fill in for, would you coach? And I went, do you think I could do it? And they went, oh, Shell, of course you can coach marathons for me, and those things. And when people say, oh, could you come and talk to this person, come and talk to that person? Or could you talk to someone with scoliosis, and would you be a patron and help these young women? It's people that are actually instilling that belief in you that enables you to be able to step up and step out. And particularly being a woman too, when I was doing things that no other woman had done in sport, and still hasn't to this day, in holding that number one world ranking. So I was, how many drug tests have you had? Are you, are you, the names I got called and things, that sexual harassment in my years. With FINA, because I was the only female on the committee in the most important position. But I'd been put in that position because someone believed in me, and then all of a sudden, the males are stripping away your self-confidence. So, but there's other people saying, hang on a minute, no, we support you, we trust you. So I think it's sometimes that as you're deviating this way down the river, and we're all going the same way in one shape or form, whether it's you've got detours, because of the choices we make, and whether we just stop and say, nah, I want to have a rest, nah, I quit, whatever, you can get back into flow at any time if you choose. One of my mottos is, if you don't quit, you'll make it, and that was from my dad, and I've said that to many swims. The swim to Wollongong, I wanted out, and my dad's voice was, if you don't quit, you'll make it, if you don't quit, you make it. I had, I'd only swum, 60% of the swim. I had another 4.5 hours to go. But, I just chomped at it a little bit. And I think that's what we need to do in life, and being present, being in the moment. In a marathon swim, it's all about bite-sized pieces. Yes. And maybe that's the bit why I've been able, because I have had chunks here and there, and why I've been able to help my swimmers, and I have, I said, right, let's talk about our inner champion game, the mindset. Let's talk about our outer game, showing up, doing it. How do you show up and all those things with a champion mindset? And it's everything I'm teaching is about planning and preparation and staying present, but also enjoying that moment and focusing on. And I think because it's with water and Mother Nature, she's the toughest mother, and she's beaten me up a few times, and I think that comes back to, hang on a minute, I need to respect myself. And because I've been in water and with flow and things like that, you start to understand that, there is nothing's perfect. There is no perfection. And so we're always trying to have the perfect relationship, have the perfect life, or have the perfect wife, have the perfect kids, have the perfect house. and I've realised that I'm pretty good being imperfect, and I'm happy with that. And all the wobbly bits.
Well, Shelley Taylor Smith, you are a champion. Sorry for not providing a box of tissues. I think we needed that today.
That's all right.
I wasn't thinking we'd have a little tear, but thank you so much again for sharing and being so generous with your thoughts, your feelings, and your wisdom. We so much appreciate you and respect you, and wish you all the very best in the future. Thank you.
And anybody watching this, remember, if you don't quit, you'll make it.